Okay, I do want to talk about something with you guys. One of the most common challenges that I have when I talk about brain training, they're like, oh, yeah, because they feel like they know what I'm talking about, and they really don't. Now, hear me out for a second. This is not me needing to prove something or needing you to know like what I'm saying because I'm right or something like that. That's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm saying is that there really, truly is a difference between mind training and brain training. And I just want to take a few minutes today to explain what that difference is and why it matters. And in the area of healing from stress or trauma, it's critically important. And that's why I wanted to take a few minutes to describe that today. One of the simplest ways that I use to describe it is a little story that I think a lot of people relate to. Parents obviously are going to relate to the story, but it's actually what happened to me. And it's the difference. Here's how I say it. A lot of mind training exercises teaches you what to do when somebody pushes your button. What I've learned to do with brain training is get rid of the button. Here's the example that I want to give you. When I was feeling really bad a few years ago, it took, like all the mental strength that I could just to get up and go to work and get through the day. And I remember thinking at the end of the day, man, I can't wait to get home. I want to see my wife. I want to see my kids. And there were so many times where I would finally get home. And, sometimes even the ride home would be stressful. Like, people pulling out in front of you, or there being traffic, or the roads blocked and stuff like that, and that stress, irritation, um, anxiety, tension, whatever word you want to use for it, just really get home. I would open the door and, the kids would be running around the house. Maybe they had a couple of friends over, the dogs yapping, and I would find myself like irritated, like, and so I would say to my wife or my kids, you know what, I just need to go to my room. Give me 20 minutes so I can just go chill out. And then I would go to my room and I'd be like, you just spent an hour like mulling over how bad you wanted to be home, and now you're irritated because there's stuff going on, noise or whatever. And so what I've learned is that like that is an automated response. It's a stress response because that was what I was feeling. I was feeling stress in my body and of course in my mind to want, and then I don't actually enjoy it. There's no uh, fruition, or you know what I'm saying. Here's what I found with the brain training as I began to change the autonomic response, right? Because a lot of these responses in the body, like breathing and heart beating, are autonomous. Well, there's a lot of other responses going on in the body that are autonomous as well. And some of those could be getting nervous or shaky, or getting hot and sweaty. Those are automated responses that can be reset. Anyway, let me stick with the story here. What I learned was when I began to rewire the stress response, and my brain and my body were no longer responding to stimulus with the same stress or aggravation, right? Then when I came home, same thing at work, a little frustrated, a little stressed or whatever. Can't wait to be home. I want to see my wife. I want to see my kids. Now I walk in, kids are screaming, dogs are running, friends are over, chaos. But I'm not irritated by it now. That response, that stress response, has been rewired. And I knew it was possible once I started getting into this because I started feeling some of the changes. But what really hit me one day was, if a 12-year-old kid were to walk into the same room at the same time, he or she would be like, oh, hey, wow, what's going on? How do I get involved? But an adult, somebody in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s, right? Well, even though that response is automatic, we can identify that response may or may not be appropriate. The stimulus is identical. The response is different. So yes, there's a responsibility here, but that's in the mind. But when I talk about actual brain training, we can literally change response. And so I said all that to say, and what the purpose of this particular video is, the difference between mind training and brain training is, though mind training is excellent and needed, and I do it myself, and I teach some of those techniques to my clients, mind training teaches you how to deal with the stress, how to manage the symptoms of those stress, or how to mitigate that response once you're in the situation. Whereas brain training teaches you not to feel the stress in the first place. It literally isn't there. The stress response isn't triggered. The sympathetic triggered. The sweating, the irritation. There's lots of things that we can measure, and people in the biofeedback know this. We can measure how your pupils dilate, even how you blink or what direction you look, perspiration. All these are biological responses to stimulus. Really, in the brain, in habitual rooted patterns is where your brain decides, back in the amygdala, if it's a positive response or a negative response. And like I said, it's autonomous. You have very little control or decision making ability in the moment of whether your brain decides it's a negative or a positive response. And once that negative response has been triggered, there's a cascade of biological events that just happen automatically. So there's just a little bit to explain to you guys what the difference between mind training and brain training is. The thing that I think is most important for you guys is what I've learned with my clients is I can do brain training way faster than I can do mind training. We can do in weeks what often takes years. Weeks of brain training to do what takes years of mind training to accomplish the same thing. I hope you guys find this information provocative. I'm going to keep rolling videos out. I'm going to keep rolling articles out to get you guys up to speed where I'm at, why this is important, what you can do about it. But the bottom line is we're rewiring the stress response. If you're responding in a way day by day that you don't like, that's uncomfortable, and you know that's not you, then I'm talking to you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.